Okay, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and this is the annual reorganization meeting of the City of Asbury Park Zoning Board of Adjustment. Chairman Avalone, can you please call this meeting to order?
First, I'd like to say welcome to another exciting new year in the zoning board here in Asbury Park. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on the municipal bulletin board and municipal website. All notices are on file with the board secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before this board. I ask everyone with a cell phone to please mute it for the duration of this meeting, and this meeting is being recorded by APTV. Roll call, please, Marie.
Wendy Glassman? Here. Daniel Harris?
Here.
John Hall?
Here.
Russell Lewis?
Here.
Natalie Passerini?
Here.
Jill Potter is absent this evening. Tim Slick?
Here.
Vice Chair Scully?
Here.
Chairman Avalone?
Here. All right, we have some housekeeping issues. I'm assuming all the appointments, every appointments were all signed off on, Mr. Serpent?
Yes. The reappointments for the resolution from the City Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about,
No, he's asking if it was signed. It was.
okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So now I need a,
So, I'll back the secretary up, I'll take her word.
glad to hear. And so now I need a motion for temporary chairperson.
I move for Mr. Avalone. I'll second it.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Thank you.
Wendy Glassman?
Yes.
Daniel Harris?
Yes.
John Hall?
Yes.
Russell Lewis?
Yes.
Natalie Passerini?
Yes.
Tim Slick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully?
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion, temporary board attorney Jack Serpico.
Pardon me, for the interruption. Do the board secretary next, you should really have a chair and secretary first.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the temporary board secretary as Marie Rodriguez.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wendy Glassman?
Yes.
Daniel Harris?
Yes.
John Hall?
Yes.
Russell Lewis?
Yes.
Natalie Passerini?
Yes.
Tim Slick?
Yes.
And Vice Chair John Scully?
Yes.
And Chairman Avalone?
Yes. And I make a motion for the temporary board attorney Jack Serpico.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Wendy Glassman?
Yes.
Daniel Harris?
Yes.
John Hall? Russell Lewis?
Yes.
Natalie Passerini?
Yes.
Tim Slick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully?
Yes.
And Chairman Avalone?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So now we move on to the nominations and appointments for 2025 offices. I need a nomination for chairperson.
I nominate Chris Avalone for chairperson.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Who seconded? Sorry.
Oh,
I did.
Russell Lewis.
Gotcha, okay. Wendy Glassman?
Yes.
Daniel Harris?
Yes.
John Hall?
Yes.
Russell Lewis?
Yes.
Natalie Passerini?
Yes.
Tim Slick?
Yes.
Vice Chair John Scully?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll make a motion for John Scully as vice chairperson.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I'd like to make another motion.
Yeah,
You
well,
want to do it that way, or you do a whole round?
well, we want to have a, why don't you make a motion as well?
I would like to propose Dan Harris as vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second myself.
No, don't second yourself.
I'll second.
Okay. So we've got two candidates. Any discussion for either? Well, which one are we going to vote for first? I guess the first person. Let's have a vote. You got two candidates running for the position. When you vote, say who you're voting for. And that'll tell me who wins. Russell, you're looking at me like
No.
I'm on the other side of the rainbow. No. Almost. I turned 75 Christmas Day, but I'm not there.
Well, there was a Wicked movie.
Okay, so, yeah, when you vote, please say who you're voting for. There are two nominees, and the majority of the votes will be the vice chair.
doesn't there need to be a second for both
I thought there
both
was.
motions?
There was.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay,
Who's
let's-
second?
Let's do that
It was
again.
Dan Harris, but you said not to vote as.
No,
He said.
Oh, okay,
good.
sorry. I didn't see.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry, John Hall, the new member, sorry.
I apologize.
He seconded the motion.
It's quiet.
Okay, and if there's no further discussion, we'll have the vote. And when you're called upon, please say who you're voting for,
Okay.
okay?
So when called upon, let us know if you're voting for Dan Harris or John Scully.
Correct.
Wendy Glassman.
Dan Harris.
Dan
Dan Harris.
Harris.
You're gonna vote- Yeah, all right, I guess in this case. Go ahead.
John Hall.
Dan Harris.
Russell Lewis.
John Scully.
Natalie Passerini.
John Scully.
Tim Slick.
John Scully.
Chairman Avalone.
John Scully.
4-3. John Scully.
Did we ask John?
Was he,
You can vote. because
You can
we
vote.
allowed Dan to vote. He voted for
we allowed Dan
himself,
to
so-
vote, you're
I
right.
will vote for myself.
Your vote for
Okay.
yourself, okay.
So we got 5 in favor of John, 3 in favor of Dan. John is the vice chair.
Vice Chair, got it.
All right, I make a motion for Board Secretary Marie Rodriguez.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Being none, please call the roll.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes. I make a motion for Jack Serpico as Board Attorney.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall. Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes.
Thank you.
I make a motion for Conflict Attorney, the Beekman Law Firm.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall. Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes. I make a motion for Board Planner Clark, Caton, and Hintz, CCH.
I'll second.
Second by John Scully. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall. Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I make a motion for Conflict Board Planner, T&M Associates.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes. I make a motion for Board Engineer, Avakian.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes.
Thank you all.
You're welcome, Jerry. And I make a motion for Conflict Board Engineer, T&M Associates.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes. And I make a motion for the Board Recording Services as APTV.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes. Now we move on to making a motion for the 2025 Zoning Board official newspapers. I make a motion for the Coaster and the Asbury Park Press.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Daniel Harris.
Yes.
John Hall.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Tim Slick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
Chairman Avalone.
Yes. So a quick discussion. We had to have one change for our meeting schedule this year. Due to a primary election in June, we had to move from June 10th to June 17th. Does anyone have a major issue with that? Hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt the 2025 Zoning Board meeting schedule.
With the amendment?
With the
With the amendment for June.
Move that from the 10th to the 17th.
Exactly.
Okay,
Second?
discussion. Hearing none, roll call please.
Wendy Glassman?
Yes.
Daniel Harris?
Yes.
John Hall?
Yes.
Russell Lewis?
Yes.
Natalie Passerini?
Yes.
Tim Slick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully?
Yes.
Chairman Avalone?
Yes. All right, we finally get to an application. Mr. Karas, 301 8th Avenue, Unit 3. I will announce that I'm recusing myself from this application and turn it over to Mr. Scully.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the notices. They're in good form. We have jurisdiction to hear this matter.
Thank you, Jack.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Night.
And Jack, this is an application for an interpretation, correct?
Yes, yes. Before we get started, if I may, has everyone read the report of CCH?
Yes.
Yes. It lays it out chapter and verse quite nicely. I couldn't do a better job myself. Donna's not an attorney, she did a good job. Understand that this is not an appeal. It's purely an interpretation. And what you're going to be asked to do, the appeal, there's no appeal from the zoning officer's decision. In this case, if there is a zoning officer's decision, which I believe there is, it stands. What you have to do is take what is proposed, connect those facts strictly in accordance with the reading of the ordinance, and decide based on the criteria that's in Donna's report, which I can also read from Cox if necessary, whether or not the facts fit within the ordinance. If they do, there's no variances required, design exceptions, etc., possibly. Okay? And if they don't, then you decide what the variances are that are going to be required and so on. There is no application on for variances this evening, correct?
It's bifurcated application.
It's bifurcated, so you're not hearing a variance application. It's just a judicial, you're sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity of deciding the facts to the law, whether or not it is or it is not an extension of a non-conforming use, whether it's use, D2 use, or bulks and/or design exceptions. It's pretty straightforward, rather concise, and we try not to get you lost in the weeds.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jack.
Okay, Mr. Karas.
Mr. Karas?
Thank you. If I may, Andrew Karras, on behalf of Karen May and Sheila Neal, as indicated, the property that we're talking about is 301 8th Avenue, Unit 3 here in Asbury Park, Block 4301, Lot 6.03, located within the R2 zone. The history as to this property is obviously relevant to a determination of whether or not what is being proposed to add a railing and new decking to a roof deck is an expansion of a non-conforming use. When we look at the history of what happened with this property, back in 2002, a certificate of zoning compliance was issued, and this was received pursuant to an OPA request from the city. It's within the city's files, reflecting that the 7-family house, where it's actually 2 separate houses, there's a front house and then a cottage in the back, 7-family multi-unit structure, is a valid non-conforming use. That was issued in July of 2022.
Andy,
Sorry,
if I may,
July.
I found my resolution from way back, just before I got
There
it.
you
If you
go.
want a copy of it, you can have it. It exactly goes along with that. You can add it in if you like.
All right, so what I'm going to do...
It's not signed, because I don't get signed resolutions.
All right, I'm going to mark then the zoning resolution at declaring the non-conforming status of this property. We're going to mark that as A1. I'm going to mark as A2 the certificate of non-compliance from July of 2002. This is where it gets to the important part. Subsequent to that, again, documents that were received in response to an OPA request. The zoning permit application had been made to the city. Was proposed construction was the alteration, it indicated, build, deck, and railing. That's dated May 23rd, 2005, relative to this property. I'm going to mark that as A3 for identification. These are what the documents that I had provided and submitted with the application. Significantly, following the submission of that zoning permit application, June 20th, 2005, zoning officer issued a zoning permit for this property. Reflects the application date of May 23rd, 2005, which conforms with the date of the zoning application that we marked as A3. And the following construction is proposed. Build deck and rails at the rooftop. It was approved. Consequently, back in 2005, it was determined by the zoning department that the rooftop deck was a rooftop deck. It approved it. What is significant is that in 2004, a year before, a master deed had been filed. Granted, that's not something that the municipality would ordinarily have, but it is a public document. When we look at the master deed, there are two portions that are relevant to the master deed filed with the County of Monmouth. It reflects this particular apartment number 3. It has on there, as indicated in the master deed, that there is the outdoor rooftop deck measuring 550 square feet and a door going to that deck. So filed with the county is a master deed reflecting this deck and a door leading to that deck. It also reflects in the master deed that units 3 and 7 have roof rights. So significantly, it reflects the usage of that outdoor deck. In addition to these documents that were submitted, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark as A4 for identification. The zoning permit, A5, is the master deed.
Mr. Karras, while you're marking that,
Sure.
so can you explain the relevance to the zoning laws that the master deed, what the relevance is there?
I'm sorry? So
What's the relevance? I understand the master deed and it's giving roof rights to this unit 7. What I'd like to hear from you is how is that relevant to the zoning?
the door. The fact that there is a door leading to the deck, all right, shows that it was a deck, and it was a deck back then. It has not been abandoned. Because what I was going to get to next is that A6 is a photograph showing the existing door still remains going out to that rooftop deck. So the use, consistent with the permit that had been issued back in 2005, has not changed. So the permit that was issued in 2005 shows the approval of this deck as a non-conforming use. The fact that that door remains today reflects that that has not been abandoned, that that use relative to the utilization of that deck remains today consistent with what was done back in 2005. So there's been no abandonment. So there is a determination back in 2005 that this was a rooftop deck. What is being proposed is simply to add new decking and a railing on that rooftop deck, consistent with what had previously been the history of this rooftop. That has not changed.
Could
Now,
you, I'm sorry, Nick,
Sure.
I don't know if it's working, it's okay. Can you read to me where, in what permits or approvals, it says rooftop deck specifically? Because I don't see it. When I look at the master deed on page 4, it refers to rights to the area of the roof adjacent to the units, but it doesn't refer to a roof deck.
Okay, it says Unit 3 on there, and we look at A4, it says proposed deck.
What are you looking at? I'm sorry.
Let me finish. It says on A4, it says build deck and ruling and rail at rooftop. So the zoning permit that was issued in 2005 reflect that. Keeping in mind that when you say the roof right, it says in the master deed, page 4, units 3 and 7, this is unit 3, shall have roof rights to the area of the roof adjacent to their units. What you're looking at in this photograph is exactly that. That's the only...
But none of those, but that's
Wait,
not a
let me just
roof
make sure we
deck.
get a clear record. So the only deck we have adjacent to this unit is what's outlined in that photo, the roof deck, which is consistent with what was issued and reflected in the zoning permit from June of 2005.
No. I don't understand how you reached that
Okay, what don't you
conclusion.
understand? I'll try to help.
May I?
Sure.
You're not under oath. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
State your name for the record and your affiliation with the board.
Donna Miller, board planner.
Okay, and you are the city's representative at the city, correct?
Nothing was done, it's just a...
Well, I'm the
Yes, you will be prepared to report for
these
this.
matters.
So,
You have rights to this.
But I am familiar with the administration of the zoning office, having worked in it myself full-time as a city employee once, and multiple times as a consultant when the city was short-staffed. You've shown us a zoning permit application that says build deck and rail, but no other supporting documentation of the plans that show the location of this deck and rail. Do you have that?
No, I have the permit that shows...
It doesn't tell me
Well,
where this deck
Please, we
and rail
can't
is.
interrupt. What it does show, the zoning permit from June 20th of 2005.
To build a deck and
Can
rail.
I please finish?
No.
What we have from June 20th of 2005 is a zoning permit. It reflects the application date, which is consistent with A3, the application that was filed. And it has on there, for this property, all right, build deck and rail at rooftop. There's only one rooftop adjacent to unit 3. There is no other rooftop. So that's why I have A6, the photograph, to show the property. And what you're looking at is a flat rooftop, which is on top of the front porch, and you have a door leading to it. So what you're looking at, build deck and rail at the rooftop, the only place for that, where you could have it on this property, is what is outlined in A6, above the porch. There is no other place. And when you look at the history of the property, this person is the owner, the former owner of this particular unit. And I can have testimony to that.
Am I allowed to go now?
Sure.
There's nothing in that application that says it's associated with Unit 3. There are no plans that indicate the location. If it's associated with the other building on the lot, there is roof that a deck could go on.
Where's that?
On the 1703 building, that's got a flat roof.
That's right, that's 1703. And when you look at the history of the property, let me finish, as set forth from the Oprah request, they distinguish between the back cottage, which is 1703 wet, and this front portion, which is 301-8. So they distinguish between the two.
You have
When-
documents that show the difference between the addresses from the city?
There's plenty of documentation within the file, the Oprah file that I received, that distinguish between the two. The one that's on the back cottage is reflected in those documents as 1703, and the one in the front is at 301 8th Avenue. They have two different addresses.
Okay, so, and the city uses the two different addresses associated with those buildings. Just want to make sure we're all clear on that, okay. So then, again, do you have anything that shows the door existed in 2005?
Yes, that's why I gave them master deed.
It was what?
That may be in a master deed, but that's not probative
I-
of whether or not it physically
Right.
existed, correct?
Well, I can have my clients testify. And there is a photograph within the file. I apologize. I can pull it up on my computer. There was a photograph in the Oprah file
Okay.
that reflects it. I can pull that up for you.
Okay, that notwithstanding, when you get a zoning permit from the city to do work, when the work is done, you get a certificate of zoning compliance that shows it was done in accordance with the permit. Now, the permit application is for the deck and the rails. I don't see any rails ever being constructed. Was there a certificate of compliance for the completion of the work?
We have no knowledge if the work was done or not done. That we don't know. What we do know is that a permit was issued making a determination on it that it was allowed to be done.
That they could have it in 2005.
Well, they made a determination that they had it, so they approved it as part of a non-conforming use.
I don't agree with that.
Whoa.
No.
Let me
that's not
see,
what that
can I
says.
see that document?
Which one?
The zoning permit that you're referring to?
Mr. Harris, where in the master deed is the door referred to? I see a roof,
There's a
but I don't see,
picture,
and a balcony, but I don't see a door.
when we look at the picture,
I don't see the words.
that, it doesn't have, you look at symbols. And the symbol for a door, which we, I think, all recognize what a symbol for a door is. And you can see that also in the interior. When you read plans, that arcing area is a door.
What page of the master deed are you on?
It's the diagram for apartment 3, second floor plan of main house.
So it was,
What page of your?
It's not numbered, but if you go to the diagrams, it has on there apartment 3.
Can you show it to me because I don't see
Oh,
it?
sure.
Mr. Karas, I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what page that you were showing me?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up some of the file that I got you over so you can see how to distinguish the addresses.
Well, the zoning,
But I don't see it.
the original zoning permit or zoning,
That's the application.
no, from back in 2000 when Chair Sonnier signed it, has two addresses, 3018 and 1703 Webb. So the city, it is acknowledged that there are two buildings with two
That
addresses.
is correct.
Yes,
Okay.
it's right there in the, yeah, that was done and I think it's in my resolution. So that we know about.
And the application for the deck was made at 301,
Okay?
and that was on May 23rd, 05. And they issued the permit to build deck and rails at rooftop. So did they actually build it?
We can't say if they did or they didn't.
Does
Well, is there
it
anything there now?
Does it exist now?
No, that's why we're here,
Did it
because we
exist?
Okay,
want-
so it's not there.
So
It's a
Hang on.
slope roof.
Did they exist when they bought the unit?
No,
Okay.
that's what they're looking to do, is do
Right,
what is
okay.
consistent.
Okay, so again, the city, administration of the city, the thing we do, we issue permits and take applications. And if you don't build the thing in a year, your permit's invalid.
No, that's not true. That's only for a variance. That's
That's not
actually
true.
incorrect. If it's a variant, you get a variance, you don't build within a year, then you don't have the right to build that anymore. But
Zoning
here,
permit
it was a
applications are
determined,
voided
if they
after
issued
3
a zoning.
months.
No.
Okay, stop
let's not
talking.
argue. Let's not, now, it's pretty.
Jack?
Is
Yeah, no, I'm asking
is
you,
there an
what's the law?
ordinance that determines the length, the life of the permit?
Yes.
Okay, that's what's relevant.
Of a zoning permit, not a construction permit.
Yeah, that's what's gonna be relevant.
Mr. Harris, while Donna's looking that up. So your argument is that it was not abandoned because the door was there?
That's correct. Although they never built it, that the
Right.
zoning permit that was issued acknowledging that it's a permitted, it was permitted then.
Right.
And it was not considered then a violation of the ordinances. It was permitted, that it remains permitted today.
But doesn't it undercut your argument that the decking and the railing weren't built? I understand what you're saying about the door, but you could also make the argument that it was abandoned because
No, because you
the
look at
decking,
it,
wait, let me finish. The decking and the railing, and it hasn't been used
there's case law.
for that purpose.
Now, when you look at case law in terms of what is deemed an abandonment, and the main case we look at goes back years ago, having to do with a horse
Yeah,
farm.
that's an existing structure. Bobinski.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's an existing
That had
structure.
to do, but it had to do with whether or not a non-conforming
Was
use was
abandoned,
abandoned.
right, but in this case, this is a separate issue. You asked the question of whether or not the use, it was never built, so.
Yeah, but what
Well,
the
your
position we're
claim- I get
taking,
what you're saying. You're saying that the fact that they issued a
It's a-
permit, you still have the right to do it.
you have a flat roof, you have a door that goes out there.
I get that.
What they're looking simply to do is improve it by putting railings and make it safe and put new decking on it. It's a flat roof, it has a door. So the structure is there. They're looking to do improvements on it to make it safe.
We have to see the validity of that zoning permit at this point in time, if it's still valid.
So there are photographs from the Oprah request that show this. As to the date of the photographs, that I don't know. But probably the earliest, last time anything was done on here, it looks like from 2012 maybe.
But also, if something had been completed, wouldn't you have the CO? Wouldn't you have some?
They would have closed out the permit, yeah.
You would have had an inspection and you'd have had an approval.
Seems like they put the permit and didn't do it.
We don't even-
So, Mr. Karas, while you're looking for that, and if I distract you, please just, I'll wait until you're done.
I get
but-
distracted all the time.
So I understand what you're saying about the abandonment issue, but the roof, the flat roof has not been used as a deck in, let's just say, for argument's sake, since 2005.
Not necessarily. I mean, it has a door. Have people gone out
Right.
there? I can have my clients testify whether or not they go out there. Prior to their utilization of the deck, I can't say. We can't say if anybody actually utilized that door and went out there. It's a functioning door. It operates. Nothing prevents people from utilizing it. It's not blocked.
But how do you argue against that you're not intensifying the use by now putting up railings and decking with the sole purpose of people being out there?
Because if it is if it's permitted, if it was deemed as a deck previously, all right, then obviously they didn't deem it back then as an expansion of a non-conforming use because they approved decking and railing back in 2005 by the issuance of the zoning permit. I'm not aware of that expiring. Now, the fact that the door remains and the flat roof remains, the fact they didn't build it does not mean it was abandoned.
It was never there to begin with.
It wasn't there to begin with, but in terms of utilization of that flat roof and door as a deck and access to a deck, you have to look at intent. You look at the case on that.
But on what basis
Well,
can you say
McDowell
that?
versus Board of Adjustment of Law, 334 New Jersey Super, 201-225, Appellate Division case from 2000, there must be an intention to abandon the use. It's a flat deck, it's a door.
No, I don't. Go ahead, finish it. I don't agree with you. Go ahead. I think we're talking apples and
But
peaches.
doesn't,
Go ahead.
so,
Yeah,
to talk about
that-
case law, but doesn't, what is it, Belleville, and I forget what's on the other
Belleville.
side of the V, but doesn't Belleville say something to the effect of that if you're intensifying the use or you're enhancing the use or enhancing the returns, if right now, there's no railing, there's no decking. So I understand that somebody can go out there, but it can't be used because it's unsafe without a railing. By putting up railing and decking, you're enhancing the use and enhancing the return for the applicant, which is not
I wouldn't
which is
agree
not
with that.
part of the,
I don't think by making something safe, you intensify the use, you make it safe. By adding decking, if you have a patio on the back of a house, the house, say it's a two-family house in a one-family zone, and you have a deck on the back, all right, you have an existing deck, but you want to put a railing on it, you want to put new flooring, ASAC as opposed to
Yeah, that's
whatever you
something
have wood.
that's something that's there. They already got a seal for that, right? They've already got, you're replacing the decking.
But say you don't have a railing on that deck, you have a back patio, you want to put a railing on. Does that constitute an intensification by making it safe and putting a railing? Or if the deck that's on there is rotted, replacing it? I don't think that's an intensification by making something safe.
In this case.
Because the
deck
use in
doesn't
and of
exist.
itself still remains. The use of a deck remains. Enhancing safety, I don't think changes that.
It has
It
to.
has
You
to, and I guess I would ask.
can't use a
for test-
rooftop deck.
Right,
Without a railing
right,
and without complying with the construction code.
exactly, and that's where we were trying to.
And they were given a permit to allow for it. I would take the position that permit still stands. It was
Well, we're gonna
issued.
find out.
The zoning permit shall expire after a period of 3 months unless a construction permit authorizing the same work has also been issued within the same 3-month period. You have a construction permit?
I would have to look at what was enacted back then in 2005 to see if that applied back then. That may apply
It would-
now.
It would have applied in 2005.
We don't know that.
Allow you to be above 3 feet off the ground without a railing. That's been a universal truth
I
for
would
the
have
last
to-
25 years.
Let's cite the ordinance.
Yeah, what's the ordinance?
That's the construction code.
Okay,
I don't have the citation for the construction code.
let's see, what is it?
But the permit was for a railing.
All right, well, where are you reading from?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is 3045.2C.
The municipal code?
Land development regulations. 30-45.2 zoning permits, C.
30:45-2C.
And that was enacted in 2000, so prior to your zoning.
Well, the code was enacted in
This
2000.
section of the code.
All right, I would have to take a look at that.
That's before 2002, 2000.
But I would still take the position that the fact that it was determined back then it was not an expansion of a non-conforming use, based upon the issuance of that it remains not an expansion of a non-conforming use. But I would have to take a look at that
We
section.
don't even know what it looked like.
But this ordinance says that permit expired.
I got to take a look at that ordinance and see what it says.
So then we can flip to a D variance, right?
Because my understanding is ordinarily that's related to when a variance relief is issued.
It's
We didn't grant variance
It's not
relief to
a-
that.
I know,
community design standards.
exactly.
The
That's
thing
my
about
point.
variance though is, yes, if it's a variance, it's a year. You're right,
It's a
that's
year.
30.9, 30-9, I think.
But it never went beyond the permit. There was no resolution from the board,
Not for that.
not for that,
No.
correct?
No, just
Yeah,
for the-
Just for the non-conforming,
5
correct.
and 2.
correct, okay.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that question?
Yeah.
So the resolution that Jack was talking about was just a resolution saying that the property is non-conforming. It was not a resolution giving them a variance to build a deck.
It's just saying that it
That
has
it's a
been
non-conforming property.
non-conforming, it still is non-conforming, and will continue to be non-conforming.
Back to square one.
Mr. Karras, do you happen to have the zoning officer or whoever in the zoning office that gave the zoning permit for this in 2005? Is there a name attached to that?
Yeah.
Oh, is that, you have?
It's Andre.
Mr. Willis? Not surprised.
I mean, again, 2005, we had different rules. I don't doubt that he,
Do you know about Mr. Willis?
did what was appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I have to.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yes.
So,
But I also don't know what was presented to him to review, because that's not,
Yeah, I don't have that. That's on the other file.
So the permit's invalid.
so
mean,
Mr.
I-
Karras, do you want to take 5 minutes to review the construction? What was it?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I'm taking a look
Okay.
at that section.
All right. Why don't we take 5 minutes while you're
Sure.
doing that? And we'll come back. I'll make a motion.
I'll
for-
second.
Motion,
5
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 5-minute break.
I should estimate.
Wendy Glassman,
Here.
Daniel Harris.
Here.
John Hall. Russell Lewis.
Here.
Natalie Passerini.
Here.
Tim Slick.
Here.
Vice Chair John Scully was recused, and
No.
Vice Chair John Scully
Here.
and Chairman Avalone was recused.
So, Mr. Karas, you had an opportunity to review, but I think you may
Yeah, I
want to
want to
subpoena some
see
additional
whether-
documents.
Yeah, what I have, I believe, is a zoning file. I don't know if there's a separate construction file. I would tend to think there is. And there were probably permits in that file. I don't know if a permit was issued for this, but I obviously, based upon our conversation and scale, I think it's relevant to the determination.
Okay. So, do you wish to carry this to
Why don't we
another?
carry this so we can get that information?
Okay.
Okay.
What's our next available date?
And I was just going to say,
I'll get a note for Al probably tomorrow. So maybe 4 weeks.
and do you think you'll need to adjust anything on your map?
Right? Because, if the permit, the zoning permit and the construction permit are in parent material, you gotta see the life of both of those documents. And see if one expires, what it does to another. We gotta explore.
We gotta do a little
ownership.
research on
We
it.
gotta explore
Due diligence.
ownership.
Would April be a good enough time for you? March 25th, April 8th? March 11th, if that's going to give us a chance.
I can do
to-
April 8th, I can do.
April 8th?
April 8th? All right. So, we'll move this to April 8th
Without further notice.
without further notice.
So if anyone is in the audience, not that you would be allowed to testify, because this is not a zoning variance application. This is strictly a legal interpretation of the facts. So unless, it wouldn't necessarily be a public comment. If you're gonna testify, you have to testify as a witness on behalf of the applicant. That being said, it's gonna be on April 8th at 7 PM here, and you will receive no further notice in the mail.
So did anybody second?
And Andy, you'll extend any time?
Yes.
To make the decision under the MOU?
Okay.
Okay, I'll do a quick,
John, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
you're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone else, understand what I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Wendy Glassman,
Yes.
Daniel Harris,
Problem, boss. Yes, carry it to the.
yes to carry?
Huh?
Without carrying to the 8th of April without further notice?
Not a problem. Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, okay.
John Hall? Russell Lewis?
Yes.
Natalie Passerini?
Yes.
Tim Slick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully?
Yes. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Adjourned,
Second.
second by Daniel. All in favor? None opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give you a picture of my.